evening. I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm
Medyo na rin tayo sa budget, kinakapos-kapos na dahil sa pagmahal ng fuel. So hindi na natin alam paano natin ibabudget.
Sakal na sakal talaga sir, dito na kami Ito na lang sana maging kamarang kaya pa namin. Pero pag nag-100, baka marami nang walang magkuhan, hindi na magbabiyahe. Itigil po.
It is not good for our economy. It's not good for our fellow Filipinos na nagpa-public transport. At hindi rin po maganda yan para sa mga PUV drivers natin, sa mga magsasaka natin, sa fisher folks natin. I don't know. Only God knows.
The diesel price everyone is dreading is coming to pass. Starting tomorrow, this fuel will be selling at 100 pesos or more per liter. What's worse, the surge could only be beginning with the Gulf conflict raging on and world prices still steadily increasing. Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos with tonight's big story.
Diesel prices are again seeing increases of at least 20 pesos for the second straight week. Another big blow to the transport sector, which relies heavily on this fuel. Based on the latest ranges announced by the Energy Department, diesel may go up to 24 pesos per liter. This means jeepney, bus, and other PUV drivers will be shelling out more than 100 pesos per liter starting Tuesday, March 17. Meanwhile, gasoline prices will be 17 pesos more expensive per liter, while kerosene, which saw the biggest jump last week, is set to increase by 9 pesos.
Sakal na sakal talaga sir, dito na kami kung sa tubig. Kasi wala na Pagkataas mamaya, baka 100 na yung gasolina. So dapat sa 80 na ito na lang sana maging kamarang kaya pa namin. Pero pag nag-100, baka marami nang walang magkuhan, hindi na magbabiyahe. Itigil po.
Medyo na rin tayo sa budget, kinakapos-kapos na dahil sa pagmahal ng fuel. So hindi na natin alam paano natin ibabudget.
To further help drivers, rider, and motorists, the DOE is coordinating with oil companies for fuel discounts. These include proposals for designated discount days, loyalty cards, and other special promos. Some fuel companies will also implement this week's price hikes in tranches, with motorists paying the fuel increase by week's end. However, several fuel stations continue to ignore this practice, with some again increasing prices prematurely. Like this station in Quezon City, which sold diesel today at 112 pesos per liter. The DOE again asked motorists to help monitor airing fuel stations.
It is not good for our economy. It's not good for our fellow Filipinos na nagpa-public transport. At hindi rin po maganda yan para sa mga PUV drivers natin, sa mga magsasaka natin, sa fisher folks natin.
As of today, global oil prices are still trading at more than $100 a barrel. Benchmark Brent crude in the afternoon of March 16 was selling at $105. Last week, oil prices surged to $120 a barrel, triggering the first round of double-digit price hikes here in the country. With the US-Israel-Iran conflict now in its third week, there's already speculation that oil may reach $200 a barrel.
I don't know. Anong sabi mo, Sandy? Only God knows.
But what is certain, according to the DOE, is the country's energy supply remains enough despite rising fuel costs.
Stable po tayo sa electricity. We are not dependent on petroleum, on electricity. We are dependent on coal, we are dependent on renewable energy, and on gas.
Right now, it is still a cat and mouse game at the Strait of Hormuz, as recent statements from both the United States and Iran have only resulted in further uncertainty. U.S. President Donald Trump has called on a naval coalition to reopen the seaway. Iran remains adamant to counter any U.S. intervention to the point of threatening burning the region's oil if the U.S. continues attacking Iran. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
Last Saturday, March 14, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, approved a provisional fare increase for provincial buses.
The move is seen to help transport companies somewhat temper the impact of massive oil price increases. Ordinary buses are now charging 1 peso more on their base fare plus 30 centavos for every additional kilometer. For other buses, specifically the air-conditioned and deluxe ones, base fares are unchanged. But a 35 to 45 centavo will be charged for each additional kilometer. Authorities were quick to clarify that there is no approved fare hike yet for city buses. Nevertheless, the hike surprised commuters traveling via the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange or PTEX.
Sanay ako sa dati lang na to. Ay ngayon, ang mahal masyado na. Tapos bukod pa sa yung sa lancha. Sasakay pa kami ng lancha.
Konti lang naman tinutubo sa paninda, tapos medyo malaki yung pamasahe. Ay baka naman po maulit ito, June na. Or May bago magpasukan.
Meanwhile, members of the transport group Piston marched at the Welcome Rotonda in Quezon City this morning to express their frustration over unabated oil price increases. Piston also announced a series of transport strikes in Metro Manila and other parts of the country that will begin on Thursday, March 19. The group is calling for a 5 peso minimum fare hike for jeepneys, the scrapping of the oil deregulation law, and the removal of value-added and excise taxes on fuel.
Hindi kailangan ng emergency power na pinakikiusap niya sa Kongreso at Senado. Kailangan lamang sa immediate, kung gustong resolbahin ni Bongbong Marcos, ay maglabas siya ng immediate na resolution na kinakansila niya o sinususpindi niya ang implementation ng excise tax sa produktong petrolyo at pagsuspindi sa usapin po ng ibat sa langis.
In response, the LTFRB says it will set a dialogue with Piston to avert the strikes. Just the same, if the street actions push through, government is preparing free rides for commuters who will be affected. For its part, the Transportation Department promises to step up review of petitions for a reasonable fare hike.
Fuel prices have been the big story for 2 weeks now, and we're still talking about it with our first guest this evening, Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. Good evening, Secretary. Welcome to the big story.
Thank you, Seth, and good evening to everyone.
First of all, what accounts for the huge price increase in diesel?
Because we import most of our products, and most of our products are coming from Middle East, actually at Strait of Hormuz. And so if there's trouble then whatever increase that's caused by that war in the Middle East, nag-increase din yung presyo natin.
But diesel over the price increase is double-digit compared to gasoline.
Correct, ma'am. Because diesel is actually one that's affected most, and the international market dictates the price. Hindi po gobyerno natin o presidente natin nagsasabi kung magkano yung diesel na pipilihin natin from other countries. It's the international market. So nangyayari, ngayon po, parang nagmamahal. Hindi lang po yun per barrel, but also because of the transportation, insurance, yung premium. If we don't buy it at that expensive, we won't be able to buy anything. So, kaya kailangan talaga magbayad tayo according to the international market.
Right. You mentioned earlier in your press conference that power won't be affected because we don't really use fossil fuel, but there are small power utility groups like those that cannot be reached, like the islands that rely heavily on diesel.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, they are heavily reliant on diesel, but the good news about those small, like off-grid areas is they have enough fuel to last them 1 or 2 months. So hindi siya ganun ka-affected as by using the current inventory they have. What will affect? It's not directly on the fuel. It's more on the cost of like bringing in coal, the logistics of the other fuels. Kasi in general, naging mahal na yung transportation, insurance, and the premium on acquiring or purchasing all these products. So I think it will affect coal in that sense, LNG as well, and all the other factors that bring up the generation cost. Kaya indirectly, merong effect, but DOE is working on trying to abate that in that sense, na i-minimize sana yung effect ng fuel price power. What we can assure is that it won't affect the generation on that side, on the capacity. Kaya there won't be any curtailment or blackout or any red alert because of supply of fuel. It will be kung meron nga, may epekto sa presyo. Pero we're trying to work out now, wala naman sanang increase by next month.
A few days ago, Secretary Garin, hello, this is Sean, by the way. You mentioned that in April, next month, power costs could go up, at least for consumers, by about 16%. Has anything changed with this estimate that you gave? I think this was late last week.
It will probably be more than that if, especially if coal and the other fuels go up. But lucky enough, we have enough to prepare. So we've been talking to Meralco, especially, and all our generation companies and all our coal generation plants. Para we're trying to find the right energy mix because this is a crisis, and we need temporary solutions to keep the price from going up. So I think depending on what the ultimate price of diesel will be and the effect of that on the other fuels, especially for coal, I think if we are able to exercise more of our regulatory powers, baka pwede naming mapababa pa yan than 16%.
Right, but you're also asking for emergency powers. Can you confirm, Secretary, in order to be able to handle or at least manage the costs of energy na manpower?
We can manage without it, but it would be more effective if there is emergency powers for the Department of Energy. Kasi para madikta namin kung ano, kasi may mga batas tayo. We have laws, regulations that we have to follow, but since this is an exceptional time, it would be more effective for DOE to be able to keep the prices from going up. So that's what we are hoping for. But we leave it to the decision of the executive, of our economic managers, as well as the president, of course, para to determine if how to balance everything. Kasi right now, hindi lang kasi power cost ang affected. It's also inflation, prices of our commodities, food, agriculture. So they know better how to balance para ma-minimize yung impact on our consumers.
Well, Secretary, earlier you did assure the public that oil supply is enough for now and that the Energy Department and the DFA is working hard, doing all that it can to ensure that suppliers will honor their contracts. Tell us, Secretary, how are those discussions going and what happens if a supplier doesn't honor this contract? What contingency measures are in place?
We have talked to some of the embassies already, and they're willing to help and to ensure that the deliveries for April, May, and the succeeding month, they honor, no? But if that doesn't happen, we have other possible suppliers also that are not our regular suppliers. Kasi, like for example, like India, Russia, US, Canada. There are many other suppliers that are willing also to, and that have enough supply na pwede nilang ipa-deliver. It's just a question of price and also the the lead time, like how long will it take them to deliver and for it to arrive to the Philippines. So, hindi naman tayo kulang sa supply. We just need to make sure that we buy the supply that's not too expensive and that won't arrive too long. No?
Secretary, there was also this one recent development where the International Energy Agency announced that strategic oil reserves will be released in select regions, including Asia. Kabilang po ba ang Philippines doon? Will we also benefit from this?
Definitely, because that will increase the supply worldwide. So, if you observe the market, it kind of calmed down, no? Since that announcement. So nakakatulong din yan on the speculations being done by our traders, the international traders and the international suppliers. So nakakatulong po yan and on a general sense, but also it also gives us more options on where to get our supply. So this is a welcome development for DOE and for our country as well kasi hindi lang tayo limited on Middle East. We have more options and I think that assures us that supply will come in whether or not we get it from our usual suppliers.
Do you eventually, Secretary, see the need to ration the supply?
No, I don't think so. We are quite positive about the incoming supplies and for the next month. So. Ang ano ko lang dyan is I don't think we will come to that level because I do think that there's enough supply all over the world. And right now we have enough supply in the Philippines already. We have enough up to April and we're expecting more deliveries by April. So hindi naman yata ganun ka sama yung sitwasyon. Ano? The only thing we cannot control is the price.
Right. And you also cautioned against hoarding, profiteering, and such practices. And you warned that there would be penalties. Secretary, talk us through what sort of penalties are in store for those who are caught profiteering or hoarding.
Sean, I'm not sure whether there's criminal or some financial consequence to that. But as far as DOE is concerned, if we do have proof and evidence on profiteering and hoarding, especially hoarding, we will cancel all the permits of our gas stations if they're guilty of that. Kasi we cannot afford to have hoarding, especially since it distorts the market. Kasi naka-project na yun kung magkano ang kinoconsume natin every March, every April, or even from Monday to Sunday. So, profiteering is not good for the economy and especially affected yung mga drivers and tricycle drivers natin or jeepney drivers because they are the ones that need to buy day to day. So if there's hoarding, uubusin mo yung stock ng isang gas station, kawawa naman yung mga drivers natin.
Have you monitored any incidents?
We have some monitoring going on. In fact, we have a monitoring team together with National Power Corporation, with NEA, the district, our electric co-ops are also helping, the Philippine National Police, even the mayors are monitoring. So there are reports, and they now they send it through EGO. So it's being monitored by several agencies already. So whenever there's proof that's being sent, our legal team studies it, evaluates it, and if there's a case that needs to be done or some disciplinary action, then it's up to our lawyers in DOE.
It would be good to announce it so that, it would prevent others from doing the same.
Correct, Tess. In fact, even DOE announcing it and sending out show cause orders, there has been a change in behavior of many of our gas stations and oil companies also because they know that DOE is quite firm on profiteering and hoarding. Kaya most of them, I mean, we hear a lot because of the noise, but actually majority or more than 80% are compliant naman. There's just some few percentage na talagang medyo matigas ang ulo. So, we're
Kaya nga
going
sampulan
after
po
those,
ninyo at
companies.
i-announce nyo para matakot yung iba, di ba?
O kasi Secretary, today din marami pa ring gas stations na nagtaas na even ahead of tomorrow's scheduled increase.
Yes, we're monitoring that, and it's we do appreciate and we more than welcome the reports that we get. Kasi DOE has limited people, or there's 14,000 gas stations, and DOE, the whole DOE, including me, it's just 1,000 people. So mahirap din monitor. So we appreciate the help of the other agencies. But yes, nasampulan na yun ng last week, and right now, all hands on deck ulit kami because of it's Tuesday again tomorrow. So we're doing our best to make sure that everybody's compliant. So hopefully, if there's somebody not compliant, please report it to us so that we can go and send the police to investigate.
We will. Secretary, what other measures is the DOE as well as the national government looking at to be able to help us manage our consumption as a nation?
And in terms of intervention, I think the first priority of the President, as well as the rest of the agencies, to make sure that those directly affected, hindi masyadong affected ng impact of the high jump or the increase on the pump prices. And we're talking about jeepney drivers, tricycle drivers, farmers, fisher folks. Yun po talaga affected directly yun kasi ang pressure ng price of fuel affects their livelihood. So I think they've had several meetings and preparations already, DOTR, DA, to make sure that ang subsidy maibibigay sa kanila kaagad. And so there are more plans on that, like assistance to those affected by the oil price hike, especially those directly affected. Now, on the other hand, though, DOE, on the technical side, we are trying to make sure, we are working hard to make sure that we have enough supply and it does not affect the price of electricity. So our teams are busy working on this. We are in constant communication with the oil companies to make sure that their orders push through in April, May, and even June, para tuloy-tuloy yung para wala tayong problema sa supply. And I have also tasked PNOC to look for alternative suppliers also outside of the usual suppliers of the Philippines. So like countries like Russia, Canada, South America, or even as far as Africa. So in-explore po namin yan because we have to prepare, worst case scenario or any problems that we encounter, at least we are prepared for whatever comes in the future. And the next is on the price of electricity. We don't want the same jump in the price of electricity next month. So we're finding ways to talk to our generation companies, maybe use less fuel, petroleum or diesel, use more coal in the meantime. Renewable energy, we're pushing, trying to make help them finish their project sooner, hopefully within 60 days, para we keep the price down. So everyone is working in the department and also in the other departments as instructed by the President to keep it from affecting our inflation.
We thank you for speaking to the big story again, Department of Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. Now, 2 weeks into the fuel crisis, the government is finally handling
Namin hinihikayat na ang lahat ay magtungo ng sabay-sabay. Kasi working day po tomorrow at gusto natin na hindi mahirapan ng riding public. Ayaw natin makakos ng commotion. Ang panawagan rin namin sa mga tricycle driver natin, wag ho kayo pupunta sa payout site kapag hindi nyo pa schedule. Kasi hindi ho a-appear ang pangalan nyo sa mga babayaran, bibigyan ng tulong pinansyal.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, Vice President Sara Duterte beats the deadline and sends a reply to the House Justice Committee. What she told the panel about her 2 impeachment complaints when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
When we introduce you, the camera will your camera, that one will focus on you. But before we introduce you, we'll read a few stories first.
Yeah.
About the drop in episode.
About more bad news.
Yeah.
Before we go to the good news. B1, B2. Wala nang pang segue yan. Diretso.
Yeah, oo nga. No, maybe. The big story is back with more stories making headlines this Monday. The Philippine peso slipped to a new record low as a conflict in the Middle East enters its 17th day. The local currency shed off 13.5 centavos to close at 59.87 against the dollar, surpassing last Friday's previous record of 59.735. The peso likewise hit an intraday low of 59.95 to the dollar, its weakest level so far. Meanwhile, the Philippine Stock Exchange Index extended its losing streak, falling for a third straight session. The PSEI declined nearly 0.9% to 6,006, with most of the sectoral gauges ending in the red, led by mining and oil.
Meantime, the Senate has adopted a partial work-from-home setup during the session break. Senate President Tito Soto said about 30% of employees will work remotely to help cut electricity costs. Senators, however, must still report in person if there are hearings. The Congress is set to adjourn for the Lenten break on March 12, with sessions resuming on May 4.
I asked Secretary Mendoza already to finalize it. Ang mga empleyado work from home. So during the break, ang mga senators, pagka merong hearing dito, walang work from home. Mga empleyado lang para makabawas at least about 30%. Mababawas tayo sa kuryente.
In related news, President Bongbong Marcos has certified as urgent a bill that would suspend the mandatory use of locally sourced biofuels for 1 year. The proposal seeks to amend the Biofuels Act of 2006 and allow temporary importation of biofuel components. That's if blended fuels become at least 5% more expensive than pure gasoline or diesel. Malacanang says the move aims to ease pressure from rising oil prices and to strengthen energy supply resilience. And in another development, members of the Villar family have skipped a preliminary investigation into alleged violations of the Securities Regulation Code. They were represented by lawyers who asked prosecutors to recall the subpoena and to dismiss the case. The Justice Department said the motion will be treated as a counter-affidavit, giving respondents until April 20 to file their formal response. The case stems from an SEC complaint accusing Villar Land Holdings of market manipulation and insider trading.
In other news, frost or andap blanketed farmlands in Benguet over the weekend as temperatures dropped in parts of Luzon. Potato and strawberry plants in Barangay Mandaymen, Kibungan were covered in ice on March 14, while thick frost covered over cabbage fields in Barangay Paway, Atok the following day. The cold conditions are being driven by the northeast monsoon or amihan. And Canlaon volcano remains under alert level 2 after a moderately explosive eruption on Sunday, March 15 at around 6 in the evening. FIVOC says the eruption sent a 5-kilometer high ash plume into the sky and caused ash fall in parts of Negros Occidental and Negros Oriental. Forest fires were also reported on the slopes of the volcano. This marks Canlaon's third eruption this year.
We'll be taking a pause from the hard news and bad news to talk about an issue just as important, education. The Mapua Education Group is expanding its international partnerships. We discussed this with Dr. Doji Maestrecampo, President and CEO of Mapua Education Group, and Chris Hill, Chief Strategy Officer and Regional CEO for Asia Pacific and Western Europe of Sintana Education. Welcome, gentlemen, to The Big Story. Thank you for coming over.
Good evening, Cez. Hi, thanks for having us.
Yes. Let's talk about why Mapua chose the University of Arizona through Sintana to partner with.
Well, we're looking for universities that would drive innovation in educational technology, in pedagogy, in research. And we saw the number one university in the United States in innovation, and that is Arizona State University.
For 11 straight years now, I understand.
That's right.
Chris,
That's
if I may
right.
call you Chris?
Yes.
Why so? Why have you dominated this sphere?
Yeah, so ASU, about 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Michael Crow, has been undergoing a transformation on a path to becoming what it would call a model for a new American university, one that's equally committed to quality as it is to scale and access and making that quality available to as many students as possible. It's their pursuit of those goals and the implementation of learning technologies and a variety of other innovations that have earned them that distinction and honor.
And now Filipino students enrolled in Mapua will have access to this.
Yes, yes. Well, essentially the partnership brings global education into the Mapua classrooms. It
Hindi ka
let
na
us,
kailangan mangibang bansa.
they don't have to leave the country anymore. So this partnership allowed us to strengthen our program, our degree program offerings, using ASU content and resources. So we have access to ASU content and resources. We are embedding them in our teaching materials. This is to ensure that our curricula remains relevant and globally aligned. And in addition to that, our students also will have the opportunity to learn from ASU professors through our global signature courses. And they don't have to leave the country to do that. And those who would like to also earn ASU degrees, we have a direct route to our students so that they can get ASU degrees through our dual degree and accelerated master's degree programs.
At a lower price.
At the Mapua price, tuition fee, yes.
So the tuition fees have not increased at all because of this partnership, Dr. Doji?
No, essentially no. Because this is not the first time that we're doing this. We're actually on our 4th year. We started with business and health sciences initially, and we saw the benefit that the students are getting from the partnership. So we decided to expand this partnership to cover all programs of Mapua. And it's not just Mapua University, it's the Mapua Education Group, meaning our branches in Laguna and in Davao are also included in this partnership agreement.
All
encompassing all Mapua.
All degrees.
Even the School of Business, you have a partnership also, I think, with the Yuchenko Group for the masteral programs. Are those also...
Yes,
Yes,
all
also?
included. Undergraduate and graduate programs are also included.
What other countries in Asia have this sort of partnership?
Yeah, so Southeast Asia is one of our strongest regions in the world, and very exciting things happening here in education, in private education, lots of development in technology and the semiconductor industry. So we're actively partnered with universities in Vietnam, in Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So we have with Mapua, 5 partners in Southeast Asia, as well as a partnership in Japan and Australia also.
Oh, I thought we were the only ones.
Oh, you were one of the first. You were tied for first. You were tied for first in the region. So very, very important and very special.
Well, because I ask because we're lagging behind our neighbors. We used to be one of the top destinations for education. Actually, back in the day, they would come to the Philippines. But now, no longer.
Well, we can maybe change that and make that happen again. I think
that's what we're trying to do.
And Mapua, Dr. Doji, I mean, when I was younger, it was known mostly like it would always be attached to engineering. It's an engineering school.
You're still young.
Thank you, Seth. Okay, let's ask Pao. Do you also have that?
Yes, of course.
Oh, she's even
Been
younger.
known for engineering.
It's still right. So is that still something with this new partnership, or would Mapua like to be more broad now or more generalized in terms of education?
Well, you're right. Mapua is still predominantly engineering and technology. In fact, more than half of our students are still in these programs. But we've grown already into a comprehensive university. In fact, just 2 years ago, we've already opened our School of Medicine. We're now offering medicine program at Mapua
Because of the
University.
partnership with
And that was
ASU.
driven by our partnership with Arizona State University. So, yes, we're now a comprehensive university.
You mentioned that you saw the reason why you've expanded this partnership is because you saw how the students benefited. How so? Did they get hired more? What was the benefit to the students?
Mostly the improvement in learning outcomes because of the access to global standard education being provided to us by Arizona State University. Of course, we also still measure employability, but we have yet to see if there's differences in employability rates from the graduate that we have now with the existing partnership and compared to the employability back then with before the partnership.
How do you measure those outcomes? Is there a test or
Yes,
diagnostic
yes.
test?
Mapua University is one of the leading universities in outcomes-based education. So even before the start of courses, we already identified what we would like to achieve in terms of skills, knowledge, and other attributes. And also at the end of the program, we measure graduate attributes, also part of the outcomes of the program.
Chris, how does Mapua rank, or how do you evaluate Mapua before you came in?
Yeah, so I mean, we've, our founding team and ASU has been active in the region for a long time, and Mapua has long had a reputation for its strength in STEM programs and engineering and technology. It was the first university in the Philippines, I believe, to obtain ABET accreditation for its engineering programs. So it's been on the radar regionally and globally. So we sought it out when we created this model with ASU, and in addition to that,
you mean kayo ang linigawan?
Sort of.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but may you perhaps also, okay, finish first, but I would like you to touch on, you know, President Trump has clamped on foreign students' access to American education, and in a way, this is also a benefit.
Yeah, look, it's linked to,
ASU.
I think it's linked to some broad global trends in education. If you step back even before Trump to COVID, before that, the dream of going and getting an education in a different country was already getting prohibitively expensive.
Yes.
Tuition levels in the United States would make that cost today $250,000 to $350,000. And then, you know, there's additionally, you know, concerns if you're a parent about your student at 18 years old, traveling halfway around the world for these experiences. So the cost and the safety and all these other things were concerns. And then COVID completely stopped the flow of international students and increased the flow of digital learning and online learning. And so there were disruptions happening, and then Trump, of course, has accelerated some of those. But this absolutely fits into these trends, because now students can obtain this education with a local partner that makes it localized and customized for the jobs and the needs here, a fraction of the cost of what it would be to go have that entire experience abroad, and really, in many ways, a better model, I think.
And a big part of that is artificial intelligence. Mapua has been leaning heavily into this program. Tell us how ASU's framework of AI is also helping Mapua students, graduates become future-proof, because nowadays upskilling is very important.
Yeah, and future-proof, I don't even know how that's possible anymore until we see a few more cards with AI. AI is a very disruptive technology. It's the fastest adopted technology ever in the history of humans. So it's changing very rapidly. It's changing how universities teach and how students learn. It's changing what they're teaching and what the students are learning. It's changing the jobs that students are going to have access to. And fundamentally, what it's going to take to be successful in a career and in life for these graduates. So universities have to transform. They have to adapt quickly. And luckily, through this partnership, I mean, ASU, with the resources available to it, is on the frontier of that in the United States and in the world. And so just, you know, those resources are only available at a university of that scale. So the path to stay on the frontier for a university in the Philippines is collaboration with ASU in that area of artificial intelligence.
Well, one of the reasons why we decided to expand this partnership is because we would like to access ASU's experience in deploying AI. ASU is the first university in the world, I believe, to partner with GPT, the OpenAI. And Mapua University is the first university in the Philippines to also partner with OpenAI ChatGPT. So we would like to learn more from how ASU were able to deploy those AI tools to improve teaching and learning, to improve operations, and to improve producing content for learning.
And finally, Chris, how did ASU contribute to Phoenix, the capital of Arizona, being one of the most high-tech and also very strong in health?
Yeah. Very strong in health, very strong in technology,
Yeah.
and part of ASU's charter, this charter that was rewritten at the beginning of this transformation I mentioned, is fundamental responsibility for the communities the university is a part of. And that means Arizona, it means the greater Phoenix area. As an example of this, ASU has the largest engineering school in the United States, Fulton Schools.
Really?
Graduates 5,000 engineers a year. And recently, TSMC, the semiconductor manufacturing company in Taiwan, just opened the largest semiconductor fabrication center in the Phoenix area. Largest foreign direct investment ever in the history of the United States. Will be a total of $160 billion. They put it in Arizona for a large part because of the supply of workforce that would be coming out of ASU in that area. So that's just one very recent, very tangible example.
How many engineers does Mapua graduate in a year?
In a year, combining all, I think about 3,000.
Yeah.
We're not far
almost
behind.
There. We're almost there. Just a few years.
We have some sort of semicon supply chain, very, very active here.
Maybe we can attract more foreign direct investments because of this partnership.
Maybe.
Thank you so much for coming over.
pleasure.
At least some ray of good news. And we thank Dr. Doji Maisrecampo of Mapua Education Group and Chris Hill of Sintana Education for joining us this
Thanks a
evening.
lot.
Welcome back to The Big Story. And this big story tonight is the National Unity Party breaking away from the majority. NUP Chairman and Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno admitted they are no longer content with the leadership of Speaker Boji D. The second largest bloc in the House will meet this week to discuss if they're joining forces with the minority instead. Among the reasons Puno cited, unfair budget allocations. A PCIJ report recently showed this district in Isabela got the highest funds in the House version of the 2026 budget. That's through the DPWH allocation amounting to 3.8 billion pesos. The second and third biggest allotment supposedly went to the Districts of Appropriations Committee Chair Mika Suwansing in Nueva Ecija and her sister Sultan Kudarat Representative Bella Suwansing.
Congressman Puno also noted how all public works projects at the moment are, quote, marked for later release. This means there are no funds to bid them out. However, Puno clarified that he has no ill feelings towards Speaker Lee.
Alam mo, dito ako hanga kay Majority Leader Sandro di ba? Kasi siya anak ng presidente, di ba? Pero hindi nakinabang yan dito sa mga diskusyon dyan sa budget. Parang nabawasan pa yata yung distrito niya. Personally, I love the House Speaker. Si Boji, bata pa yan, magkaibigan na kami. Yung tatay niya, kaibigan ko. Yung mga kapatid niya, kaibigan ko lahat. I'm a very close, good, and avid fan of the D family. But he is not doing what he is supposed to do.
Meantime, the NUP chairman says their planned breakaway with the majority bloc has nothing to do with the impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte.
We cannot be accused of cuddling the Dutertes. No? Kasi kami yung pasimuno nga noong mga nakaraan 'di ba? Partido namin 'Di ba? Mali ba magsabi na gawin yung matibay yung kaso para hindi lang itapon sa Senado?
Speaking of the Vice President, she has replied to the House Justice Committee on her 2 impeachment complaints. This is the last day given to the VP by the panel to file an answer. According to Duterte's legal counsel Michael Poa, they questioned the constitutionality of the impeachment proceedings and the alleged lack of ultimate facts in the complaints.
Briefly, we indicated their due process issues, double standards pagdating doon sa naging assessment in terms of sufficiency in form and substance pagdating doon sa impeachment complaints laban sa ating Pangulo. Kung ikukumpara mo doon sa naging determination pagdating naman sa impeachment complaints laban sa ating Vice Presidente. We raised due process issues because of what we feel sa aming pananaw ay hindi naging uniform yung standards ng pagdetermine ng sufficiency in form and substance doon sa naging impeachment complaints laban sa ating Pangulo at impeachment complaints laban sa ating kalawang Pangulo.
And on a much lighter note, the Toyota Gazoo Racing Philippine Cup has officially kicked off its new season with drivers and fans filling the track for an action-packed opening weekend. More from mobile journalist Francis Rivera.
Engines roaring and drivers ready to push their limits. The Toyota Gazoo Racing Philippine Cup officially kicked off its 2026 season opener at the River Park Circuit in Cavite. Race Weekend 1 wrapped up Sunday, March 15 with multiple sprint races that drew motorsports fans eager to witness the action on track. Throughout the weekend, drivers across different classes battled it out around the circuit. Fans from across the region filled the venue, watching the races trackside, while others followed every lap on the screen at the circuit. Off the track, spectators enjoyed interactive booths and activities from various sponsors. But one machine drew the loudest buzz. Making its racing debut this season was the proudly Filipino-made Toyota Tamaraw. Built for durability and endurance, the Tamaraw completed 12 intense laps, providing it can deliver both performance and sustainability on the track. Among those behind the wheel was content creator and car enthusiast Chini Jimenez, one of the first to push the Tamaraw to its limits.
We've never had a diesel boosted rear-wheel drive car one mix series in the Philippines, so it's the first of its kind. And it's exciting, it's fun to watch, and the driving dynamics is so different, so it's a lot for us to adjust to. So, exciting season up ahead.
Also joining the grid this season is Enzo Izon, who made the jump from sim racing to real-life competition in the Toyota Gazoo Racing Cup.
Yung sim racing background ko, It's basically the foundation na kung paano ako natuto mag-drive. I started there and doon ko rin na-improve yung mga skills ko in terms of racing.
The opening weekend also produced several podium finishers across the super sporting, and legacy classes. One of the standout performances in the Tamaro class sprint race 2 came from Will Lucas, who powered his way to the podium.
It feels amazing because in all my life, I've always been a Toyota guy.
As the race concluded, fans were treated to a live performance by Ben and Ben, bringing the crowd together for a concert at the circuit. The event capped off with the fireworks display lighting up the night sky over River Park. The action is far from over. Mark your calendars as the TGR Philippine Cup Race Weekend 2 takes over the Clark International Speedway this July 9 to 11, 2026. Mga kapatid, mobile journalist Francis Rivera, we are One News.
And before we go tonight, meet the female and Phil Am who made history at the Oscars and on Women's Month yet. Our big picture tonight is Filipino-American Autumn Durald Arcapol winning Best Cinematography for the film Sinners at the 98th Academy Awards. Arcapol, the first woman to ever win in that male-dominated category, received a standing ovation. That's as she thanked director Ryan Coogler and women around the world during her acceptance speech. Arcapol is of Filipino descent. She has also worked as cinematographer on films including The Last Showgirl, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and Palo Alto. Meantime, Sinners also had a strong night with Michael B. Jordan winning Best Actor and Coogler taking Best Original Screenplay. One battle after another won Best Picture with Paul Thomas Anderson named Best Director. Other major winners include Jessie Buckley for Best Actress, Sean Penn for Best Supporting Actor, and Amy Madigan for Best Supporting Actress.
Before we say goodbye, I'll just issue an erratum, the session of the House.
Yes.
The lower house or Congress. I read earlier that it ends on March 12, but it's all the way till March 18. Yes.
For the Lenten break.
For the Lenten break. So they'll be back on May 4, I think.
And congratulations to Autumn Arcapol. What a great award. The first female in history to win Best Cinematography and of Filipino descent as well. We're always proud.
We're always so proud, yeah.
I understand the equipment she uses is kind of hard to manipulate.
It's the old school
The
ones.
IMAX.
16 millimeters.
60, yeah. It's very technical, but she did something great.
Galing.
It's good that she got recognition for her efforts.
She made history and she's half Filipino. Yay!
All right, and on that note, that's it for the big story this Monday. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.
Well, coming up next, lots in the world of sports on this Monday. We have play-by-play with Andre Felix and Cheska Leton Calao. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Proud
Have
rin
you
ba kayo?
guys seen Sinners?
I have seen part.
A bit. I tried.
Really good movie.
It was a very...
Takutin ka pala, Seth.
I am very takutin.
No,
Did you